Good, rainy, cloudy, slightly muggy with a 70-degree temperature and a 66-degree dew point on this 21st of September. Early autumn in the greater Marysville metropolitan area in the great state of Michigan, right? This is Vincenzo'S Gold Crypto Investing. And we got a little gold update here. Gold's been tanking the last 6 months, really, been getting hammered. But you can see the Great Panther Mining. I'm going to bring this up only because you guys love these cheap penny stock like cryptos that move like a son of a bitch. And this is one that moves like a son of a bitch. And right now you can see we've hit this bottom now once back here, then it pumped. Twice, it pumped. 3 times, it pumped, right? 4 times, smaller pump, right? You get smaller pumps sometimes. But we were in this, on this last pump up here, bam, Vincenzo would have bought down here, Brony's bought up there, right? But you got the pump, and then you fell into this falling wedge, right? We can move this back line out a little bit to make it more like that, right? It doesn't really change much, but it's a falling wedge. You see that? And then you finally had a pump, and you broke out of it, right? Then you form this symmetrical triangle, and it broke down to the downside, right? Because we know those are neutral continuation patterns, and you can see that, right? And your targeted move out of that, and this so happened to coincide with their big flooding spring storm they got down there. They had heavy spring rains, and they had a massive flood, and it flooded one of their key mines, and it ruined a lot of stuff. They had to shut down the mine, build back a retaining wall, build that back up, get all the flooded water out, fix the grounds, and then repair machinery, and that took 3 to 4 months. And now they're on the flip side of that, but that coincided at the worst possible time towards as this pattern consolidated, and it ended up breaking down. But it makes sense with all the news. They were telling you in their statements in the first quarter that the first half of the year was going to be very hard, and they expected their stock to take a hit, right? But then they expected at the end of the end of the third quarter and the start of the fourth quarter, and to finish the fourth quarter, they expected the things to stabilize in price and then start to slowly build back as they reopened the mine that was closed. But you can see it came at the worst possible time with that news. Then you had the technical breakdown out of the symmetrical triangle, which, you know, you come to the top of the mouth to the bottom, right, and then to the point of a breakout, and it came right down. You want to go right, where did it break out? It broke out right there. And then we're going to do, that's why you always start at the monthly or the far out time frame that makes the most sense, and then work your way into a super simple, easy way to trade this manipulated market in a probability-based way. You can see now it's finished out that targeted move. It flushed all the way down, and it also hit key underneath support that we just went over for the 5th time now. And also it's back testing now. You see that when it crashed, the targeted move was to back test this lower support now that used to be upper resistance in that falling channel that we went over to, that we just looked at. So there's multiple things that it's hitting. So now as it's coming back down after your first pump, watch here, and you can try to play buys here now as you retest this 36 to 40 cent level, right about where you're at now. You can see if it holds, and if it holds, you could have a big pump back up into here, right? At least back up into there. But you could make a long-term weeks to month rally way up to there. And if you bounced off this key oversold support after that pattern flush that we fulfilled, that's an 89% push up, or just to get the overhead resistance, that's a 46% pump up, right? So pay attention to see if you can hold and have another pump like you did here when you bounced, right? Keep an eye on that. It could be a phenomenal gain in the next few days to weeks, right? We'll keep an eye out in here and zoom in even farther now. And you can see it's trying to form some kind of bottom. We'll see how it interacts with this, because you could get a nice pump. Just something to watch there. The overall gold market itself, if we look at the gold bullion, you can see it had a huge flush last week. As we look at the gold bullion, you know, it broke out of this rising channel, and then we had a flush, right? Now it's trying to get a bounce. So if we zoom out, you can see what we're in the gold. we're in this falling broadening wedge, right? And a falling broadening wedge is a bullish reversal pattern, right? They usually break to the upside. And as you can see right now, you got your lower support down here. We're going to get rid of this just because it's cluttering my beautiful screen. Get rid of that. You can see a falling broadening wedge is where you're narrower where it starts and it comes in on a pump. In this case, that's why it's going to be bullish. Then you crash and you hit underneath support, overhead resistance, underneath support, overhead resistance, then a bigger flush. And you notice how as you're working your way down into this broadening wedge, it gets more volatile and the price spreads get bigger. Then you pump up, then you crash down, then you pump up. Now you're coming down, right? It's getting bigger price swings. Now you could do something like this and then come all the way down to the bottom of this. You could come all the way to 1500 and then trade your way back up and then have a huge push up. But this will eventually, in a probability-based way, whether it takes another half a year to work its way through the bottom half of this, it will eventually break up, right? And when it breaks up, the targeted move would be the top of the wedge, right? Which is way up here at the all-time highs. But this could come all the way down. I could see gold lose some footing and crash, have a huge week to 2 week flash crash where you flush everybody out, all the new buyers that got in all up in here, right? That bought all in here on the COVID and pre-COVID pump, and especially that COVID rally right here. I could see gold flushing now all the way from the top. If you zoom out now to the weekly, you can see what I'm talking about. You can see your last financial collapse. You peaked over here, right? And then you flushed almost 50%. Then I could see now as you pump back up here, you got all these new buyers in here, or all these old buyers that flushed and that waited 12 years to break even again or dumping. And now you come all the way down into the mid part of this to get all these new buyers up in here flushed out of the market. And then the institutions come in the smart money and they buy up the guys and the retail investors that got hammered and fleeced and heisted and liquidated and lost their asses and will never touch gold again until it's at all-time highs. These long-term institutional sophisticated traders will swoop in and buy that at a cheap price from them and say thank you very much and continue holding. So I could absolutely see gold come down to that $1,500 mark. I have an eye on that. That is my that would be a big bottoming price for me. I don't think gold would go much lower than that unless it just continued to drive down $100 or $150 on an overshoot and then gets quickly bought back up. But I could absolutely see in this falling broadening wedge the price end up down here as we see a tropical depression fall all the way down there, right? So that's what I got my eye on. If you break the $1,669 level in blue, you're probably going to make a run at the bottom of this broadening wedge, right? And then you would get bought back up fairly quickly. So option one is you trade out of here and then you make that fabulous glowing, all jabroni enticing, all-time high double top, right? Or you're going to fall out of that to the floor and then you swoop in a rounding bottom and pump, right? That's what's going on there. Like, subscribe, and share to Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing. This was just a quick gold update. Peace and love.